Meow. Why are you stuttering? Good morning, everybody. Good morning, Brent. It's good to see you this morning. I'm here, and George is here. Look, George is here. Look at George. He's not over here, though. He hasn't decided to come over here yet. Okay. Well, we've started a new week with more snow. So, that's the way that kind of goes. Yeah, I noticed that the intro was jerky. I don't know what that was all about. That was very strange. It was like it wasn't playing well. I don't know if that was a conflict with Winamp, maybe? Hey, Brent says hi to you. Little cat pest. Boop. There. Boop. 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 There we go. I have an extendable back scratcher. This thing is great. But it also makes it so that George is kind of interested in what's going on over here because he's easily entertained. But I can also reach all the way over here and, ooh, I can scratch him. Ooh, oh yeah, back scratcher works for you, doesn't it? Yeah, look at that. Long distance back scratching. He's like, hey, this is kind of cool, actually. Okay. That was fun for a little bit, and now we got to move on. Yeah, I'm not 100% sure. It seems like the more I change things to make it easier, the more it messes it up. So I'm glad you can hear me. I don't know. Can you hear the background music going on too? Because that's the new addition to this. So when I got back from Texas, the OBS system has a connector to Restream, and that one was broken. It wouldn't work, and I couldn't get it to restart. But then during a Geek Tank episode at night, I learned about the idea of using OBS as a virtual camera and then feeding it through to Restream's on-screen interface, which I thought was a really useful thing, because if you do that, then I can have Pepper on the show or anybody else on the show, and while I'm at it, I can, still do all of the cuts to the different cameras over here on my side and allow somebody else to come in and still no background music, huh? Let's see if I can bring that up. It says that it's mixed. Maybe like that. More like that. Because now, well, let me turn my speakers down and make sure it's not my speakers you're hearing. So now my speakers should be up at minus 20 or so. So you should be able to hear them. I'm talking at a roughly minus 10 to minus 5, which is this sweet spot for music. I think the way they do audio is 0 is like the loudest you should be at. I didn't make up these rules. Okay, good. You can hear it. But it's not overwhelming, right? It's just at a decent volume. Well, hopefully that's the deal. Okay, good old Winamp. Ancient, archaic Winamp. So anyway, like I was saying, the way I had set this all up was through OBS, where OBS had a connector inside it, a built-in add-on, like an app that was connected to OBS that allowed you to broadcast out to Restream. And I redid it so that we're all now on the Restream browser. And okay, good. So we're all on the Restream browser now. And that allowed me to add this chat box, which I actually am very fond of because everybody can read what's going on the show, which is great. So that was cool. But now I'm finding a whole new host of problems. So over the weekend, Kittiwake here, the computer that we do all of this on, got an upgrade in memory. I went from 16 gigs to 32 gigs. And there's the old 16 gigs sitting right here. They need to go to my wife's computer, where she's going to get the upgrade. And George is just sitting right here, just being George. It's like he knew I was pointing at him. George is over here. No. Eh? There. Huh? 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 He's so easy to entertain. Okay. We have, by the way, gotten a laser pointer for the cat. And so now George is very entertained by the laser pointer. So anyway, I'm kind of moving on to this new style of doing things where I've got the readout to the right. So what I've done this week is I've ordered a VESA monitor connector to connect this monitor right here. So it'll be directly above so I can look at the camera, and there will be this monitor so I can read all this information that's here without having to look like this the entire time. Yes, I can have the chat window too, but you can't read it, right? With this, you can read what's on my chat window. And that's what I like a whole lot. The Streamlabs apps that come through OBS, I haven't figured out how to make the chat window part of OBS's world. I don't know. I'm sure there's a way to do it. But with this, the thing that I'm having a problem with Streamlabs and OBS is that I can't let Pepper see the chat box. He can't read it when he's on the show. So that's the biggest problem. It's totally fine as long as it's just me. But I have Pepper here once a week. And once we get back into the swing of things, I intend to have more than just Pepper on here. Maybe Kat will come back, and maybe I can get Raph on here and stuff like that. I love having the other artists on here to draw with me. So, you could get the Streamlabs thing to show. Well, yeah, but see, still the same problem. Unless Pepper has the stream like this up on his screen somewhere, he can't read the chat. So he has to watch Facebook or something. But with this, he sees it in his broadcast window because he has to log in to the web page to get into the show. So he'll see it right here. So I guess he could also see the chat window on the right, but for some reason I don't think guests can. I don't remember what happened there. So anyway, StreamYard would allow everybody to read the chat, and I think that I was having a problem with Restream not letting everybody see it on the I don't know. Anyway, I can't remember what the story was. There are so many turns and twists in this story. Excuse me. Twists and turns in this story. I can't remember anymore what it was that I was trying to do or why I made choices that I made choices of. And I may go back at some point and unchoice these choices. Anything could happen. So anyway, today we're going to work on a Springs issue because I want to get to work on this to do this more often. So we're going to move to monitor right here. And you can see I'm still down here in the corner. Yay! I love this. So I just redid this backdrop here. So, that's another thing I need to remember. Boy, I'm having Space Cadet land all over the place, aren't I? Let's see here. fix backdrop for Restream. Because this backdrop is great for a single person. It doesn't, oh, I just threw a dice. It doesn't shift for, excuse me. But when I get, spring's Monday. When I get Pepper on here, it puts us top to bottom like this. So I need to make a new background that covers top to bottom. Even if I do manage to fix StreamYard so that OBS is working the way it's supposed to, then it's still going to be, I'm still going to want to have all of this set up here on the web so that I can continue doing broadcasts from Texas or wherever, or maybe ultimately as spring comes along and as everybody starts to get more and more vaccinated, I'm thinking it'll be good to do broadcasts from remote locations, like maybe a local Starbucks or something like that, where I could draw from there. So I want to make sure we've got that. The first thing we're going to do, of course, is wipe off our monitor because it has gathered dust over the weekend, which I find particularly funny since I was drawing on it literally Saturday night, and it always gets me how much dust this monitor can pick up. But it's a monitor on the ground, so it kind of makes sense, you know. Alrighty, let's get started. So the joke that I'm going to make today is a joke based on Amazon that I had come up with. That Amazon was getting faster and faster and faster and faster about everything. So it's hard to make some of these jokes in the Springs universe because everything's a robot. But I thought I would bring up Rover, which is this guy right here, and make a joke about Rover, which I thought was particularly cute. So here's what we're going to do. Layer 1 is a blank layer, and I use it specifically for pencil work. So we started pencil, and we're going to have Rover kind of tootling along here. Try to give him a little bit of bend all the time because he's got kind of a bend to him. Do. Rover, of course, is it's got like 3 legs effectively on each side. And I've thought about changing his little back part to match the Mars rovers, but then I decided not to because he's just kind of who he is as he is. Give him a little bit more of a bow here. He's kind of tootling along. Yeah, actually, I thought about broadcast from the con. I thought about that too. I've noticed that as well. Like this week, all shipments are really slow. I've got all the pieces parts to modify this that were supposed to be in Monday, but now they're in on Tuesday. Well, we mean Wednesday, and now we're on to Thursday. So it's like, glad I'm on Prime, you know? Oh, it's been a long time since I've drawn Rover. I'm going to have to erase this and start all over. I got a little bit of a problem here on this, and that is I haven't drawn this guy in a long, long time. So I noticed that I don't have a pencil set from up here. That's all right. We'll figure that out. Let's get a smaller pencil so we're not quite so... Okay. So we want Rover to be tootling along, doing rovery stuff. Maybe, what should he be doing? He should be doing a thing. Maybe he should be playing like football or something. It'd be funny. And I don't know. It'd be funnier to think about what Rover could do. Could he play football? Maybe. I do want to bring up, I'm having a hard time remembering what Rover looks like now. So I'm going to bring up my old Springs comics here. A little scatterbrained today, I'm noticing. Not quite as organized as I'd like to be. I mean, not like that's a real problem, but seems like I'd modified Rover to a better way. He was like better. Weren't that many. Well, we go back quite a ways before we actually have complete comics. Alrighty. I'm looking back over the years. The last time we modified Rover, we brought Rover up in a restart story. Oh yeah, here we go. Yes, he still looks pretty much the same. He hasn't changed a whole lot since this version of him here. I thought there was more to him, like we had modified him. We were going to reboot his story. I thought rebooting his story with a landing, and it seems like I remember him landing, and I don't know, something about him coming down to the planet. What in the world? Oh. Some of these give me a chuckle. But I have to think them through. Yeah, I know. I totally have a case of the Mondays today, don't I? It's like I can't remember where all these things went. Is it 2014? I don't think it was 14. Why is 15 the start? I know this was a different part of the story here. Huh. Kind of seem to remember us doing something else here. I don't know. I'm feeling like there might be missing episodes here. Yeah, there we go. See, I knew that somewhere along the line, Rover had changed to with an antenna piece, and he had a little stripe through the middle of him now, and a little backpack button piece. I had a feeling there was a change in the way Rover was these days. So I'm going to try to mimic that drawing of Rover, and I probably should update this picture on my masters so that I would know that there is a difference in the way Rover looks. We'll blow this up over here so that we have. There we go. All right. So, Let's go ahead and erase this. Get a pencil out. And let's start here. We're going to have, here's what we're going to do. We're going to have Rover kind of coming around like this. And he's going to kick the ball. So like, there we go. He's going to maybe he will. Now, usually whenever I have the ball, though, there's generally a TB joke in here. And so I feel like maybe I shouldn't make a TB joke. Maybe he should be traveling along. I have the joke. I know what the punchline is, but I can't figure out how to get to the punchline. This is not an uncommon problem for cartoonists. We get these great punchlines and we're like, yay, how do I get here? How do I get to this punchline? So he's just hopping along doing his thing. And sometimes the answer is that I'm using the wrong character. Sometimes it's not supposed to be Rover. And that might be our problem here. And we'll have to see. Right? I mean, maybe the problem is that it's not supposed to be Rover. It's the character. But I can't think at the moment how to get to the punchline any other way. Let's give him some decent wheels here. There we go. So, yeah, I'm not doing warm-ups yet because I've got to get my desk organized over there again. So we didn't warm up, and you're right, that might also be part of our problem. I will concur, absolutely. We didn't warm up. I'm cold for the weekend, coming in from the weekend where I was drawing Saturday night, but I didn't do anything yesterday except watch For All Mankind, like binge watch it, and I really did. I've never binge watched anything before. So I am now on season 2. I watched the entire first season yesterday, and it's like, that was serious. Took up the entire day, too. So, okay. Here we go. He's just tootling along. Right? Oh, that's a good joke to make. Yeah, actually, I have no earthly idea whether Rover is a he or a she. Could be anything. May just be a they. I mean, who knows? Rover is Rover. Yeah, I'm not sure. I got so caught up in it yesterday that I'm not sure I'm going to end up waiting for that. So, actually, I was looking at the cast of looking up people in the cast on season 1, because I watched the season 1 finale last night, and I was looking at the cast, and they cast an actress that I'm very fond of in season 2, and as a character, and I'm not going to spoil anything, but I was like, this doesn't make any sense. Why would they do this? And then I had to go watch it to see what was going on. And so I ended up watching the first episode of season 2 last night, just because I couldn't figure out how this character ended up being in there. And so it all makes total sense. It's completely logical, but it's still like really, it took me by surprise. Okay. You know what? I've got a different joke we're going to make. Rover's going to have a helicopter. Because I think that's funny. I think you were absolutely on spot on with this one. There we go. We'll make a Rover joke rather than an Amazon joke. I think that's funnier. Anyway. Okay, we'll say, we'll have him sitting here, and he seems pretty contently pinging and beeping. Right? And the helicopter is going to sit here and just ping and beep back and forth and back and forth and back and forth. Right? And Rover's all happy about pinging and beeping. There we go. Then we'll do the classic silhouette thing. Right? How long is it going to take us to finish the season? Do you know? I'm just curious. Do you know how long? I mean, because that's one of the things I'm kind of curious about. Ten episodes. So okay, so nice. I'm really liking. I mean, For All Mankind. I thought. Well, first of all, I know it was right up my alley. Not the cast, though. Let's see the show. Because now I'm curious. Uh-oh, stop. We've got how many? 5, 6. 6 is on Friday. So, okay. That puts 4 episodes. Wow. Well, the good news is I can stop binging it because it's killing me to binge watch this. Right? So I think they've been at this for 5 hours. And then the punchline is good thing it's not a government operation. There we go. I may have to work on that, but it's, it's a punchline that came up out of the blue suddenly. Angela from Bones. No, it's Cynthia Wu. I had seen her in something else, and she's in season 2. And I was like, I've seen her from somewhere else, but then I was like, wait a minute, the character that she's playing doesn't match, and I couldn't figure out what was going on. And I'm not gonna give you spoilers because it actually all works just fine. So, okay. So, okie. We've got ping, beep, ping, beep, ping, beep. And they've been at this for 5 hours. Just ping, beep, ping, beep, ping, beep. I don't know whether I should make this. So the punchline is good thing it's not a government operation. I don't know if I should make that it's not a government operation or good thing it's not a taxpayer or good thing we're not paying for it. There's a joke here because we got to kind of think this one out. We have 5 weeks left, 1 a week for the next 1 a week every Friday. Well, I'm okay with this. It could be my Friday night show. But yeah, it's addictive. Whew, I am so addicted to that show. That is everything I love about the universe, sort of. As my wife said, if they only had mechs in it, it would be like the perfect show. Oh, you know what? It could, because something about knock in government operations seems like it's only funny to people who worked in the government. And strangely, could be political these days. So my next thought was maybe, and he can still say, AR can be mad about the fact that they've been at this for 5 hours. Oh, you know what? Don't do that. Because what we really need to do. Yeah. Well, and it's interesting how much of that show is very logically done. Like the whole Jamestown base thing makes absolute sense. It's a very logical what we would do for a first step base on the moon, and it's just really well done. The little guy take off? Question mark. Then maybe we'll have him sleeping on the ground here, and we'll just have him say, that seems like, there we go. If the little rover lifts off. There we go. That's probably a better joke. They've been at this for 5 hours. Wake me up when the little rover lifts off. It doesn't seem to be. I don't know. It's not strong at this point in time. I feel like the joke, right? So, like I said, that's some of the best stuff in. So, of course, the other thing about For All Mankind is that it's written by Ron Moore, whom is one of my absolute favorite writers. He wrote Star Trek Deep Space Nine, a lot of Star Trek Deep Space Nine under Ira Behr. And he was the showrunner of the new Battlestar Galactica, which was absolutely compelling. And now he's the showrunner of For All Mankind. The guy is really good at what he does. And he's getting better with every iteration. And watching For All Mankind, they're covering a lot of the ground that I wanted to cover with Witches of Flame. Which was also an alternate history writing. I don't know if they're going to go as far down the road as I was going to go with Witches. But I'm noticing that watching For All Mankind, I was saying this last night. I said this to my wife. I was like, I feel like For All Mankind is a better version of Witches of Flame. It's not quite in the same vein as what I was headed for, because in Witches, I had them on Mars by 1983. And I had a different catalyst as to why there was a different, break in the timeline. But I've noticed that it's the same kind of thing. Here we go. I'm going to do this real quick because I'm going to go back to the Ring camera. I've noticed that it's the same thing when I look at the different stories, and they did the same thing. They had to find a reason for Congress to stay funding NASA, and in For All Mankind, they just put the Soviets on the moon first. In Witches, I have an alien signal from Mars, so. I find it funny that we both came to the same conclusion that needed to happen, which was that you need to somehow get Congress off of its butt. And, we're in the 70s when Congress was like, well, we got no reason to go anywhere anymore. So yeah, we'll just go somewhere else, But then I looked at like the way that Ron Moore has laid out this universe, this alternate timeline is so close to what I was doing. I do have a feeling they're going to Mars or Venus. I'm finding it fascinating that Ron Moore is taking the task of going to Mars or Venus as a further down the road, like something that's going to happen in the 90s. Because, I figured that following Wernher von Braun's original plan of doing things has us on Mars by 1981 or 1982. And I was going to have enough of those disasters and problems and issues that caused all the drama in first season of For All Mankind. I was going to have that same thing going on with the witches, but it was going to be, it's a different set of events. So I just find that fascinating. I'm really intrigued by For All Mankind. It is literally what I was thinking of with Witches of Flame. And so now I have a couple of tasks. One, how do I make Witches of Flame something different so that it's not For All Mankind? I was actually kind of disheartened when I saw the episodes where they were talking about the episode called Nixon's Women, and that whole episode set right there. That's literally what Witches of Flame was all about, was the first women to go into space, the first American women. And so I was like, "Aw, he literally took my plot." But that's okay. I have a different idea. So I just have to make it more different now. So there you go. We'll get there. But for the record, I came up with Witches of Flame 2 years before For All Mankind came out. I just very slow about stuff. This should teach me to stop being slow. You know what I mean? Okay. So we're going to take now and put this under the 4 panels. And I'll use the 4 panels now to draw. Yeah, the female astronauts. That whole arc right there was what Witches of Flame was about. And he covered everything I was going to cover in like 2 episodes. And I was like, oh man, it's okay. It is totally cool. I have a different thought. Well, maybe. That's actually what I ultimately said was, clearly I am in the Zeitgeist, right? I'm in the place where the rest of the writers in this era are, which is good. That's at least a positive thing. The fact that Ron could get to it faster and do it better and everything like that is just experience in his part. I was in the Zeitgeist. Well, I mean, it's experience and talent. I'm sure he's probably a more talented writer, but I'm a better artist. So but I'm in the Zeitgeist, and that's a good thing. So, okay, here we go. Let's get serious about this here. I'm in my G pen, which is my normal pen, but it's way large for this. There we go. So I do too. I'm worried about where that's going. Although the jump between season 1 and season 2 may mean that we're only going to hear that wrapped up. So all right. I think it's also interesting when we talk about that soldier and the PTSD that it's an aspect of the Vietnam War that we don't really touch on anymore. And that is this aspect that the people really disrespected the soldiers when they came back. And that's an interesting concept thing to discuss, because it's a different world now. We've learned to handle what we see on TV better. Not perfectly by any stretch, certainly, but we've gotten better at it. And so I feel like but it is something we need to remember. As we once were really bad about how we dealt with our soldiers, and I think that was rough. This is the first time we televised a war. And that was an interesting thing. I don't know if people were ready for that. I don't think people are ever ready. But I wonder if there's an analogy to social media, in the same manner. Like, we now see things every day that we never had to see before. I don't know. It takes us some time to get acclimated to that. Like the antenna being kind of bent like this. Like it's leaning forward and looking like little eyes. And this will be just a little canister. The helicopter blades. And little legs. Right. The thing about Rover's legs is that we have to remember that the back legs are rounded down and the front legs are rounded up, and that gives the effect that the joint on those legs is facing us or facing away. All right, so this is one leg of Rover out here. And we do the same thing here. We don't get a lot of his other leg there. And the same thing kind of going this way. All right. I do think that the way they handled Clay in For All Mankind was a storyline that dropped. because I feel like they didn't resolve that. And I know that the second season jumps forward quite a bit, so I'm kind of disappointed that they didn't revisit that. Not disappointed, I'm interested. I wanted to know what happened to him. He seemed like a character I was curious about. All right. So now, looking at that straight up, looks good. Rover's joke is that he always just pings. He just says ping. Yeah, I think so too. But I think also the media wasn't used to that yet. They didn't know what to publish. They didn't know what they were trying to do. Is the sun trying to come out? Looks like the sun's trying to come out. Looks good. I've got to deliver the sticks of memory to the computer store today. So I feel kind of like the joke here should be something about new parents taking extra time to do everything. You know what I mean? Because that seems to be kind of, especially if you look at the way that NASA is handling their rovers and things like that. They're very cautious, but on the same token, it's always sort of with love. They've got this great love for their rovers. They're beloved creatures to them, which makes some sense. And these people put a lot of time and effort into them, just like a parent would. And they mean a lot to these people, just like kids do to parents. It's an interesting dynamic. Certainly not one that I want to mock. So I feel like my punchline's still not quite hitting where I want it to go. It's all right. We've got a couple more frames before we're at the punchline, right? And the actual great part about this is that we can do anything we want with this punchline. We don't have to actually got the entire time that I'm drawing to make up this punchline. So there you go. And the joke can be that AR is annoyed by it, because AR is annoyed by everything. Because it almost could be like AR is like, stop explaining and do. It could be like that. That could be kind of funny. And the joke could be, you've never taken care of kids before, have you? And maybe it should be Martha over here. Ooh, stop preparing and do. That's what it should be. Stop preparing and do. And then it can be, you've never had kids before, have you? That's a better punchline. Just putting in these legs. They're behind the blade, so give him his little side antenna here. I think it's funnier that the high gain antennas keep looking at things. I've decided that's my new thing now. Is his high gain always looks at things. If you're wondering what a high gain antenna is, that's the antenna package that was on the side of the Apollo capsule. It's the S-band and high gain antenna. And that whole package says there was 4 dishes and they sat on the side. And so I like the idea that that's what rovers' antennas do. They keep looking at things. There we go. So it's also interesting, some of the technology that was going on in For All Mankind. Their tech guys were on it. I love watching Apollo 13 for the exact same reasons. Right? I mean, that's one of the best parts about Apollo 13 is how much of the technobabble is actually something that makes sense. But they made it into part of the story. Oh, yeah, first time parent. That's a good one, too. Give him his high gain S-band. But yeah, Apollo 24 lost its S-band high gain. And that's why they couldn't talk back. They lost this package. So they couldn't talk to Earth. And that makes some sense. They were fixing the IU, which there's a scene in Apollo 13 where they're launching, and during the launch sequence they lose number 5, the number 5 engine during the launch, and you can see one of the flight controllers, he moves into scene and he says, I need to know if the IU is functioning for the number 5 shutdown. And they're talking about that instrument package that's in the center ring of the S4B, which has all the computers in it. That same thing that became a plot device in For All Mankind. And I'm sitting there going, oh yeah, I know exactly where that IU is. And I know where that computer component is. It's on the opposite side of the ring. And they're like, it's on the opposite side of the ring. And I'm like, yeah, they're going to have to crawl through the middle of the S4B to get to it because the access hatch is on the other side. Like, that's a messy EVA. And it was just really cool that became a plot point. And obviously in the writer's room, they were sitting there talking about this and saying that they were obviously saying that, well, we've got to make this joke or this plot about the IU, because I just realized that they could crawl through the S4B. And they said, well, yes, but make sure that it's the computer on the other side of the room. Okay, everybody, it's time to stand up and take a break. So stand up and stretch. If you have a cat, scratch the cat. You don't have a cat, and I don't have a cat either. I don't know where my cat went. He was in here a minute ago. I've got another cat, but she's asleep. The old cat's over there being asleep, so there you go. Anyway, pop side to side, stretch, bend, do all the things. Be a good person. Be good to yourself. Make sure you stood up, stretched out the hands, all kinds of stuff. Make sure your seat's good and comfy. There we go. Okay. All right. I like the idea of first-time parent. That's a good one. So I'm going to switch back to light blue for this. AR can be grumpy about it. We're going to switch back to pencil. AR and TB are kids in this story. And the elders here are Don Q and Martha. And the mid-range characters are the not middle-aged, but younger-aged characters are Mike and Charles. And so, we've got just gonna have him folding his arms here. And he's amused, right? Don Q can be amused by this. Okay, we'll give him his little screen on his chest. So, there we go. Go through here and just clean up this a little. Make sure that I get that straight. And his head is a lot bigger than his body. And his head's been bigger than his body for a while, but not this big. So I'm going to shrink it down a little. Much more reasonable scale here. So the guy that's doing the minis that I really am in love with is going back and revising them. And his revisions are incredible. He's putting in shield grid lines, and he's putting in all kinds of stuff. And so I am looking to get much better FASA minis out of him. So that's a thing I'm waiting on. Really what I'm waiting on is I need to go get all of the protective equipment so that I can use my printer. I don't have gloves or anything like that at the moment. I will. I just haven't gone out and gotten it yet. So we're waiting on a couple of things. I have them on order. They're coming in next Tuesday, like my phasers. My phasers are coming in next Tuesday as well. So it's like everything. Always waiting until next Tuesday. Phasers, my tractor beam next Tuesday. All right, just kind of cleaning up Don Q here. We're going to imply that clearly Don Q has been a first-time parent. Give him a little more of a tilt going for him now, because he's grumbly. Now his antenna. All right, give him like this. Hey, really? So I know, it's funny because there's a lot of characters out there that all of these guys are based off of. What's really funny is Don Q looks like a character from a specific horror movie, but he was designed in 2000 with all of the other guys. So that horror movie hadn't come out at that point in 2000. So a horror anime, I guess, hadn't come out in 2000. So I didn't actually design Don Q to be a character from, to be that specific thing. I just designed him. And this guy is supposed to be sort of reminiscent of Huey, Dewey, and Louie from Silent Running. So when I'd made AR, it was sort of like Huey, Dewey, and Louie from Silent Running, which were the little... Silent Running was one of those movies that traumatized me in a good way. I don't know if that's a thing, but it traumatized me in a good way as a kid. I mean, I was horrified to think that guy was stuck forever on the Valley Forge with his little robots to keep him company, and that's all he had. And I know that the whole point of that was to, and there we go, I'll do this, to make a statement about environmentalism, and I get that, and that's cool. That's not what traumatized me as a kid. Okay, just getting them placed in the right spot here. Right. So they've been at this for 5 hours. And then you've never been a first time parent. I see. There we go. Just like that. There we go. That one's hitting on all thrusters. I like that one. Much, much better. Now, it's very important for us to put in the text first. And the reason is because the text placement is difficult and complicated because it's got to be the right size and we have to use the right font, which is not Guy Serious. All these fonts I've got. It's always been Guy Chan R, which is the old font that I made a long time ago for my comics. They've been at this for 5 hours. And this is why you want to be doing this first, because by the time you put the text in at 18 point, you can see how much space it's going to take up. And you can tell already that it's going to take up a lot of space, right? Because now getting this text in is going to be difficult. So I've got to make sure that I've got this guy all the way over like this, because I've got to get enough room to put in Don Q's response, right? You've never been a first time parent, comma, I see. There we go. Yeah, see, this is where it's like, wow, how much real estate this takes up. All right, now you got to kind of place it over here, cognizant that this is going to take up a lot of space. So I can probably eat a little bit out here on the edge just to keep it out of Don Q's drawing. So let me go back to 4 panels. Now we're going to do a couple of things. One, I'm going to break past the comic here. And I know that, so I'm going to do that, right? And break up a little like this, and then undo it. Because we've got to be kind of careful how we do this. It's called a balloon tail. And then whatever damage I do to the rest of this picture, I'm just going to have to go back and fix, right? So I'm going to go in here with my eraser and take out part of the background here. Right? And I'll just have to go in with the pen, touch it back up. And once I've done this, I'm going to have to move the text over just a hair. Right? So that it's centered in the balloon. There we go. And then we've got this balloon, which will tail right here. And the same thing, it goes outside of the frame there. Oh, man. There we go. There we go. So this is 18 point is the smallest I can make my text so that you can read it. You want to be able to read it about this distance. We're still on me, not on the actual monitor. Here, look at the monitor, not me. There we go. You want to be able to read it from this point here so that you can see what's kind of going on, even when I post it on Facebook. So we're going to go down here and do that. And go back to the 4 panels. And we're going to draw in
AR. So it's an interesting thing. There we go. There we go. Like that. Give him his. I'm just kind of going in here and drawing out this piece. There we go, just like that. It's interesting that even as simplistic as these pictures are, it still takes a long time to get them right. You know, we're into the second hour of this show, and I've yammered a lot, but it still takes 2 hours to get to a final product on this. Which has always been an interesting thing for me. I've kind of always wanted to get to the point where I can draw springs pretty fast, but it takes some time to do all of these things. It takes effort, and that's interesting to me that that's the case. It's not a positive or a negative. It just simply is what it is. I think the best part about this particular episode is that I couldn't think of a good punchline to start, really. I had sort of an idea, and it evolved out to being not quite the same, but actually a completely different punchline. I think it's particularly funny. There you go. There. They have. The Mars drone has been flying. It's made its historic flight. But it did take them a while. Oh, there we go. Okay, all the inking is now in. And now we can take our blue line out, unless we don't need it anymore. Right now we're left with just the ink. So I like the idea of this being sort of, I need to be in springs because there are backgrounds here. And these are all not the backgrounds that are involved. Some of these are backgrounds from other things, but I wanted to look at them and see what they look like. What I need is our normal or our new Springs background. That's background 2. Which makes me wonder where that background went, because it has wandered away. Is it here? No. Is it here? No. Not helping myself here, am I? I don't think I did it there. I did new backgrounds. I did an entire... This is really painful. Okay, there we go. Let's bring it over here where I can read it. Okay, so... looking at the backgrounds for everything. Somewhere I have these brand new backgrounds that I made. They're brand new. And I like them a lot. I has to find them. And for some reason, they're not in the backgrounds folder. Which is kind of strange. Oh, here it is. They are in the backgrounds folder. Just not paying attention to the correct spot. That's all. All right. Your reading is good. Downloading, downloading. We'll do the downloading song. Downloading, downloading. All right. I made a new background. I liked all these like mid-grade things that are in the middle. And so I could do sort of the background that we had before, but also added some foreground elements that allowed for a little bit more interesting stuff. Truth is, I should probably merge all of these together so that they're all one unit. And that way I can take these if I want them to and bring them down or move them, so you got kind of that kind of stuff going. Then I can take whichever section of this I want and say Control-Shift-E, Control Copy, and Control V for paste, right? And we can put it underneath the 4 panel. There we go. And we'll take a look at where we want to be on this. Probably like here. That's what I'm thinking. More like that. All right, that'll work. We'll take this guy right here. Cut, paste. And then the next panel is not that one. Let's leave that there. Deselect. That's not the right one. Deselect. I'll take this guy. And since this is more of a level picture, more like this, we can go like that. That looks good. All right. We cut and we paste. Now all this is doing, and deselect is giving us, and that's just trash. It's giving us sort of a bunch of different things to deal with here, right? Like now we can have AR and Don Q here, right? And we'll go, and we'll say paste. They're just on a normal background. Like that. Try not to take too much away from what's going on here. right? Okay. So that then becomes another one of those. We'll take this guy and we'll say cut, paste, just like that. There we go. Delete, or D for deselect. Somehow you duplicated, and I don't want that to duplicate. Okay. Now we will E and E. Control E then flattens layers. And this is important because we've got kind of a problem here with the bottom of this not being there. So we're going to go through real quick. I'm just going to select that part right there. I don't need a gradient really. So I can do a filled rectangle and should be able to just fill that in and not see any difference. That's exactly what I did. So that works. It looks just fine. The next thing we're going to do is I'm going to duplicate my 4 panel here, right? I'm going to duplicate the layer. And then on the layer below, I'm going to start filling in the colors. The colors for these guys are pretty straightforward, although we did change the colors on Rover. So let's open Springs and we'll go for 2020, where we made a Rover joke. A Rover was flying around over people's heads. Where was that joke? Maybe it was in 2019. I only do 4 of these a year, apparently. Who knew? Seem to remember it being a... well, maybe not. Did I just miss it entirely? Might have missed it entirely. Maybe I did do it in 2000. Okay, I'm feeling pretty old when I have to get to the extra large icons to see things. I liked the TV eating Mentos. It was very funny. And soda. Nothing goes over my head, for I am too tall. I will catch it. I do need glasses too. I have glasses. I just choose not to wear them. Sometimes I wear them, but it just makes me sad. So maybe it was 19. I feel like these guys are not as organized as I want them to be. You know what I mean? I'm feeling kind of like you guys aren't organized. You guys need to be more organized. It's taking me forever to find the color codes for... yeah, I think kids by nature don't like to wear glasses. There were some good jokes in this. I don't think it was 2018 or 2017. Good heavens, how far back do I have to go? 2016, apparently. Answer your question. All right. Well, here's what we're going to do. We're going to take this guy right here, copy, paste, and put him all the way up at the top. Was I on the wrong? No? Huh. Copy. Paste. Oh, they're way up there. And they're very tiny. Oh, well. Works for me. Okay. I'm going to remember after the end of this show that, 2010. Well, so I started drawing springs in February of 2020, or of 2000, I'm sorry. February of 2000. So we've just passed the 21st year of me drawing springs. And I'm not sure what to think about the fact that I'm only on 239 as far as a comic. Actually, this is 240. We're going to have to rewrite that too before we go. Because it seems, maybe I'm just taking my own sweet time. I don't know. So we'll go back down here. We're on 4 panels and underneath the copy. And the reason is because I'm going to start filling in things for the color that I want of this guy. Right? And so one can argue that I'm just taking my own sweet time. And that's probably fine. My legacy will be that I have the smallest number of comic strips. As really, honestly, it's been a very, I kind of like the fact that we went with orange at this point, because it's kind of like he's got little lobster legs now. So, kind of cracks me up. But in February of 2020, Charles Schulz was retiring. And I thought, how hard could this possibly be? Right? And so I started drawing springs as a exercise in just being able to do the job. And I actually held to it for a very long time. Very pleased with myself on that one, actually. So it's 11.5. Yes, that's about 11.5 a year. I can do 11 comic strips a year. Okay. And so it's one of those things. I enjoy doing springs because it's relaxing. It's not stressful, all I do with springs is make funny little jokes about space and space exploration, and it's a particularly fun thing to do, right? I feel like the helicopter should be some shade of blue and purple, like Io. Maybe a small amount of orange to sort of make it like it belongs to Rover. Ooh. Make sure you complete the dots there, folks. Take the pen, connect the dots. Well, there's so much that this will help with. So, okay. Now, the thing that we're going to do now with this is we're going to make sure that in some areas there's white. So like right here underneath the eyes, I have to make sure that those are white. Otherwise we get this sort of see-through where we can see through to the background. And one of the things that my characters always do is they have this sort of white going for them in their eyes. So the eyes sort of look like they're, have a little bit of reflection in them or whatever. It doesn't really matter. He's got little purple feet pads going for him. All right. Okay. There we go. And then I'm going to take the white, like we just talked about, and fill in that and fill in that. And that looks just fine. Now, when you take this top layer off, you can see how much damage the fill tool did to all of the rest of it. That's why we take it and duplicate the layer, because that leaves our inking alone and doesn't mess with the inking, because we've been filling in underneath it. So the inking doesn't get messed up. The thing about writing with Rover is that Rover gets like this weird, his writing becomes hard to see. So I'm going to, by the way, purple looks good. I'm going to do that. I'm going to take this and go to foreground to background and just do that, right? Because that looks cool. And that'll make it easy. And so this is the way we kind of go through this whole mess. I'm going to add a layer real quick here underneath this, and we're just going to put in shadows. Right? We can use any tool for the shadows. But the truth is you kind of want to use a pen like this. And it looks so dramatic right now. And don't worry, I'll fix that. It's important when I do Don Q because he floats. Now we'll take this guy and just draw him back to about 50%. Right? And make this a multiply layer. I'm going to draw it all the way back to 25%. It'll still be good. There we go. I'm going to go back here and we just do that. And with shadows, we can be sloppy a little bit about it because you want to, because it makes it look like it's got rocks and terrain underneath there. Just like that. All right. Now, like I said before, the thing about Rover is that you can't read this very well. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to make another raster copy of this. I'm going to duplicate its layer. And we're going to just isolate this. Hard to do from this side. Right? Control Shift I, delete. And that just gives us just the ping and the beeps. Right? And then I go up and just touch up a couple of things like that. That needs to be pulled out. Da, 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 da. Okay, all's good. This then gets a we're going to do an outer I got to think about this. How do we do this in here? I know exactly how to do this in Photoshop. I'm having a hard time remembering how to do this in Clip Studio Paint. But we got to put a stroke around the outside of it, is what it's called, a halo, just to make sure that you can actually see what these words say. And so we've got to learn to do this someday. We need to just kind of figure it out now. Right? And we're going to do what? Selection from layer, because it's everybody has to try very hard. Maybe it's up here under filter or effect. No. Render, sharpen. Everybody has to try to do something to make it not the same as Photoshop. And I actually, in general, really, really like this a whole lot more than, okay, I could spend forever doing this, or I'm just going to look up Control H. Maybe. That's nothing. I'm just going to look it up real quick because that won't take long. Clip Studio Paint, add stroke. I do not, in fact. Okay, so we're going to be doing this way. Okay, create a selection with a selection tool. Okay, selection with a selection tool. There we go. Gotcha. Control-Shift-I. And then under Edit, I have Outline Selection. Draw outside. And we're going to make it 5 pixels. Seems good. And that's the way to do it. Okay. Control-Z. Gotta make sure the color is correct. Edit. Outline Selection. Draw outside. Okay. There we go. And voila. And that way we can read this. I changed the outline selection. Let's do this a little different because I like outline selection, but it takes me a second here. Not into there. Outline selection. We'll go 8. Let's do draw inside or draw on border. Draw on border, then we can do, and that's going to go either direction. I'm going to take, so that's going to go underneath it all, which is fine because we'll put this underneath there so that when we turn on the line work, it still is there. But I do want to, now that I figured out how to do this, do want to, yeah, that's what I did. I Googled it because it's kind of hard to see. But now with it like this, it's very bright. I feel like it's very bright. So what I can always do is just drop it down a little in the opacity over here, right? There you go. And Viola, it's done. Right? There we go. Ping, beep, ping, beep, ping, beep. They've been at this for 5 hours. You've never been a first-time parent, I see. And we have our joke, and it looks good, and it's a funny comic. And the only thing left is that this is not number 239. we have to actually make sure we know what number it is, and we're going to actually have to change this up because that was a 239 put in there by, I'll go for, it's always Arial on this one. And Arial, I'm going to make that really small like this. Number 240, I think it's 242. There we go. Go back to 2021. No, it is actually 240. Yeah, there's a 240, so this is 241. All right. So this becomes 241. There we go. And oh, this is 240. It says it's 240. What is my problem? It even says it right up there in big letters on the save. It's today's comic with the number on it. It's 240. Okay, so we're at 240. And we will deselect. So everything is now in place. Now what we do is once everything's in place, there's a couple of things we want to check. It talks about it here. The final version is going to be 1200 by 628. So I want to remember that number when I'm about to do this because I'm about to trim down the page. And once I do, because I got to trim off this top part. So we're going to, first of all, we're going to save it. Save, right? And we're going to close everything else because we don't want anything else getting confused here. All right, so we're going to close you, do not save. I'll close you, do not save. And then we're going to take this guy. All right. There's a couple of things. This has to be taken out. That's the trim background. Then we'll turn off the support. And we have to get rid of this guy here. Oop. Use the find function for the function of how this, man. There we go. Pull that out. And then we're going to Control-Shift-E. Right? And that gets rid of everything in there that's not part of this comic. Right? Now we just have that. And then we do one last thing, which is trim. And I can't remember how we trim the page, but we've got to trim the page. Maybe if I just do this. No. There is an awful lot of different controls here. The good news is that if I learn all of these controls here, I'm just going to Google it. I don't want to spend time on this. Yep. Edit, change canvas size. Oh. Okay, I can do that. Edit. Change canvas size, none option. Because you have to have it not selected. Edit. Change canvas size. Oh, okay. And then you just pull the little crop tool down. Perfect. Okay. We'll do the same thing. We'll go to edit and we'll change image resolution. Yeah. I'm going to do 1200 by 628. Resolution doesn't matter at this point in time because it's all for canvas. So that's not an issue. There we go. Now, this is the final version of it. Now, one of the reasons that, yeah, I know the crop tool doesn't work like it does in Photoshop. That's why I had to figure it out. So one of the reasons that I shrink it down before I put it out onto social media, and this is actually very important for any artist who's trying to do artwork, always shrink your art before you put it out onto social media. And the reason I say that is because people might take your artwork and say it's their own. And if you ever have to go to a copyright claim on this, you want to be able to show that you can produce a piece or you can produce a copy of that artwork at a much higher resolution than they can. So if you release it, if you make the master, let's say, at 5,000 pixels wide or 6,000 pixels wide, which is usually what I do, then you shrink it down by cropping it or resizing to 1,200 pixels. It still works. You can still read this just fine. Everything looks good. But if you actually have to have a contested claim against somebody for something, then you can go contest it and show the original, which won't, even if they blow theirs, blow this copy up to 6,000 pixels, it'll be all pixelated. It'll be aliased, be very aliased, and yours will not be. And that's how you can prove that you did the artwork originally. That allows people to download your artwork, look at your artwork, try to understand how you did it, yada, 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 without any, that way you can still release the artwork and not have to worry about that. I also feel like that people might be, for all those people who are doing the blockchain purchasing, which apparently is causing a rift in the community, you can still do an original, and the original will just be at 7,000 pixels, something huge, high resolution. These don't blow up well. Once you've gotten them down to this size, they don't blow up well. So I always have to go back to my original PSDs for print and put them out at a slightly larger resolution. But even then, if you were to scan it in, it'd be a different critter. So there we go. We have made our joke for the day. I like it. It's a good commentary towards our beloved new rover on Mars, which is very fun and very interesting. And so I think it's cute. It's good. It'll be released today on Instagram and Facebook, and you can see it everywhere where I think probably just Instagram and Facebook. I'm going to try to put it onto r/comic strips, which is out on Reddit, but I'm having sort of problems, getting things onto Reddit these days. I don't know. I have a whole bunch of great pictures of George, and I've been trying to put it on r/Cats Are Liquid, and I can't seem to get it onto Cats Are Liquid, and I keep trying. I've got great pictures of George. It looks like he's poorly assembled. So that's the best ones to put on r/Cats Are Liquid, because if he's poorly assembled, it's very funny. He's got his back legs going this way and his front legs going this way, and it looks like he's just been poorly assembled. And he's perfectly content. He's like just sitting there happy as a clam, but it does look like he's badly assembled. So I want to put that on r/Cats Are Liquid. And I can't get things to upload right now to Reddit, and I think that's my client, not anything that goes with them. So there you go. We've finished an issue of Springs for today, and it's very fluffy and very cute, and I like it. And so there you go. And this Monday is done. We can check it off of our list. We've got a lot of things we got to do today. So there is that. Okay. Well, guys, tomorrow I'm going to be working some more on illustration number 8. for Airship 27. It's taking me forever to get through Airship 27 stuff. And we've got only one left, and that's all. Thank you, sir. I appreciate it. And we've only got like one remaining illustration. But now that we've got like a success on the horizon, I'm doing my typical success failure thing where I fail to succeed. So we'll get there. I'm just going to have to push through this. So we'll get there tomorrow. I'm probably going to want to redo that. One Ilio, just the last one. Okay. So new show is 2 hours long starting at 9 o'clock. And I've reset all of my timers so that I'm clear by 11. And that's good because this gets us into the day and gets you started. I hope your day is great. And I hope to see you tomorrow. And as always, keep your eyes on the stars, and I'll see you then. Bye-bye.